Jiho pressed his face against the transport window and watched the massive space station grow larger. Concordia 7 looked like a giant spinning wheel in the darkness, covered in lights from 1,000 different windows. His stomach felt tight with nerves. "Stop worrying so much," his sister Hana said from the seat beside him. She was 17 and had been studying at Nexus Academy for 2 years already. "You'll be fine." "Easy for you to say," Jiho muttered. He was only 14, and this was his first time leaving Earth for more than a week. The carrier box on his lap shifted slightly, and he heard a familiar huffing sound from inside. At least he had Badger with him. The transport docked with a heavy clang that echoed through the walls. Jiho grabbed his bag with one hand and Badger's carrier with the other. His sister led him through the airlock and into the station proper. The corridor opened into a huge welcome hall, and Jiho stopped walking. He had seen pictures, but nothing prepared him for actually being here. The ceiling stretched up at least 50 feet high, covered in a dome that showed the stars outside. Students from dozens of different alien species walked past, talking in languages the universal translator in his ear could barely keep up with. A tall student with crystalline blue skin bumped into Jiho without apologizing. The alien looked down at him with eyes that had no pupils, just swirling silver patterns. 2 other students followed behind the tall one, laughing at something. One looked like a walking mantis, and the other had red scales and a long tail. "That's Velcrin," Hana whispered. "He's bad news." "Stay away from him." "Who is he?" Jiho asked. "His family is important in the Galactic Council. He thinks humans don't belong here." Hana grabbed Jiho's arm and pulled him toward a different hallway. "Come on. Let's get you checked in before orientation starts." The registration office was smaller and quieter. A creature with purple tentacles and 3 eyes floating above its head sat behind a desk. Its skin changed colors when it noticed them, shifting from purple to a pale green. "Ah, new human student," the creature said. The translator made its voice sound like bubbling water. "Name?" "Jiho, from Earth." Yes, I have your file here." One tentacle tapped at a glowing screen. "You have registered a companion animal? This is unusual for human students." Jiho lifted the carrier box onto the desk. "His name is Badger." The alien leaned forward, its eyes drifting closer to the box. "May I see?" Jiho opened the top section slightly. Badger's black and white face appeared, sniffing at the air. The honey badger looked around with small, dark eyes, completely unbothered by the strange alien examining him. The tentacled creature made a gurgling sound that might have been laughter. "This is your companion animal? What species is it?" "A honey badger, from Africa. It is very small, and it looks quite lazy." The alien typed something into the system. "Most students bring more impressive animals, phase cats, razor hawks, crystal serpents. But regulations allow any registered companion, so this is acceptable. You must keep it in the approved habitat in your dormitory unless attending approved activities." "I understand," Jiho said, closing the carrier. He could feel heat rising in his cheeks. He knew Badger didn't look impressive compared to the exotic alien creatures he had seen in the Academy brochure. Hana helped him find his dormitory room on level 7. It was small, but had everything he needed: a bed, a desk, a cleaning unit, and a climate-controlled habitat box built into the wall for Badger. Jiho carefully transferred the honey badger into the habitat and made sure the temperature was set correctly. Badger immediately curled up in the corner and closed his eyes. "He'll be fine," Hana said. "I have to get to my advanced physics class. Orientation is in 1 hour at the main auditorium. Don't be late." After she left, Jiho unpacked his clothes and tried to calm his nervous stomach. He had wanted to come to Nexus Academy since he was 10 years old. Ever since his parents told him about the school where species from across the galaxy learned together. But now that he was actually here, everything felt overwhelming. The auditorium was already half full when Jiho arrived. He found a seat near the back, hoping to avoid attention. An instructor with many arms and a shell-covered body stood at the front, welcoming the new students. Jiho tried to pay attention, but he kept noticing the other students staring at him and whispering. "Is that the human with the rodent?" Someone hissed behind him. "I heard it barely moves, just sleeps all day." Typical human choice. They're still so primitive. Jiho's hands tightened into fists, but he kept his eyes forward. His parents had taught him that getting angry solved nothing. Besides, they didn't know anything about badger. They didn't know that honey badgers were one of the toughest animals on Earth. They just saw something small and assumed it was weak. The orientation ended, and students began filing out. Jiho stood up and found himself face to face with Velcrin. Up close, the crystalline alien was even taller, at least 7 feet. His friends formed a half circle around Jiho, blocking his path. "You're the new human," Velcrin said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. I saw your companion animal registration, a badger." Velcrin's mouth curved in what might have been a smile, showing teeth like glass shards. "How pathetic. My Draxon is a razorhawk from the volcanic moons of Krenth. It has killed prey twice its size." Jiho said nothing. He tried to step around Velcrin, but the mantis-like student moved to block him. "In 3 weeks, we have the Trials of Prowess," Velcrin continued. "All first-year students can participate. Students and their companion animals demonstrate their abilities. It's voluntary, of course." He leaned down, his face inches from Jiho's. "But I think you should participate. I would very much like to see what your little rodent can do against real companion animals. Unless you're too afraid?" The other students in the hallway had stopped to watch. Jiho could feel dozens of eyes on him. His heart pounded in his chest. He knew what this was. A challenge. If he refused, everyone would think humans were cowards. If he accepted, Badger might get hurt. But then he remembered the day Badger had wandered into his family's research station in Africa. A lion had been nearby, but Badger hadn't cared. The honey badger had walked right past the predator like it didn't exist. Badger feared nothing. Jiho looked up at Velcrin and kept his voice steady. "I accept." Velcrin's smile widened. "Excellent. I look forward to it, human." He turned and walked away, his friends following. Their laughter echoed down the hallway. Jiho stood there for a moment, wondering if he had just made a terrible mistake. Then he headed back to his dormitory. When he entered his room, Badger was awake, standing on his hind legs with his paws against the habitat glass. The honey badger looked at Jiho with those calm, fearless eyes. "Don't worry, buddy," Jiho said quietly. "I know what you can do. They have no idea what's coming." Badger made a low, huffing sound and went back to eating his food. Jiho sat on his bed and stared out the window at the stars. 3 weeks until the trials. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks until everyone learned that Earth's animals were nothing like they expected. He just hoped he was making the right choice. The next morning, Jiho learned that news traveled fast at Nexus Academy. When he entered the cafeteria for breakfast, whispers followed him like shadows. Students pointed at him and laughed behind their hands or claws or tentacles. His translator picked up fragments of conversation. That's him, the human who accepted Velcrin's challenge. His companion animal is some kind of Earth rodent. He must be incredibly stupid or incredibly brave. Jiho got his food and looked for an empty table. Before he could sit down, a small insectoid student waved at him. She had 4 arms, large compound eyes, and delicate wings folded against her back. Her exoskeleton was a pretty green color that shimmered in the light. "You can sit here if you want," she said. "I'm Yuna." "Thanks." Jiho sat down gratefully. "I'm Jiho." "I know." Everyone knows. Yuna's antennae twitched, which Jiho's translator said meant amusement. You're either very confident or very foolish. Velkrin's Razor Hawk has won competitions before. What made you accept his challenge? Jiho poked at his food. I couldn't refuse. If I did, everyone would think all humans are weak. Maybe they wouldn't think that if they saw your companion animal first. Yuna tilted her head. What's a badger, anyway? I looked it up in the Earth database, but the information was confusing. It said they're related to weasels and otters. Sort of. They're smaller than most predators, but tougher than they look. A human boy about 16 years old stopped at their table. He had worried eyes and kept glancing over his shoulder. You're Jiho, right? I'm Seung-min. I'm in my second year here. Hi, Jiho said. Seung-min leaned in close and lowered his voice. Listen, you need to withdraw from the trials. Velkrin is dangerous. Last year, a student from Theta Prime challenged him, and his companion animal ended up in the medical wing for a week. Velkrin doesn't just want to win, he wants to humiliate anyone who challenges him. I already accepted, Jiho said. I can't back out now. Yes, you can. Better to be embarrassed for withdrawing than to have your animal get seriously hurt. Seung-min's face was tense. I'm telling you this because we humans have to stick together here. Most species already think we're the weakest members of the Galactic Council. Don't give them more ammunition. Yuna's antennae drooped. He's right about Velkrin. His species values dominance above everything else. He sees you as an easy target. Jiho pushed his tray away. He had lost his appetite. I'll think about it. But he already knew he wouldn't withdraw. He couldn't, not just for himself, but for every human at the Academy. For his parents who worked so hard to make Earth a respected member of the galactic community. For his sister who had dealt with prejudice for 2 years. He had to do this. The days passed slowly. Jiho attended his classes and tried to focus on his studies, but the upcoming trials hung over him like a dark cloud. The mockery grew worse each day. Someone created a holographic meme showing a tiny Earth rodent running away from Velkrin's Razor Hawk. It spread through the student network within hours. In the hallways, students made squeaking sounds when Jiho walked past. In class, they asked fake innocent questions about whether Earth animals were all so adorable and harmless. The instructors usually stopped it, but not always. Some of them seemed amused, too. One evening, Jiho's sister Hana came to his room. Her face was serious. I've been researching the trials. Jiho, the companion animals actually fight. It's not just a demonstration. They fight until one submits or can't continue. I know, Jiho said. Do you? Hana sat on his bed. Badger is tough for an Earth animal, but these alien creatures are from worlds we've never even visited. They've evolved in completely different environments. Some of them have armor plating. Some have venom. Velkrin's Razor Hawk has metallic feathers sharp enough to cut through steel. Jiho walked over to Badger's habitat. The honey badger was awake, watching him through the glass. Badger isn't like other Earth animals, Hana. You know that? I know he's brave. I was there when he faced down that lion in Africa, remember? But this is different. Hana's voice cracked slightly. I don't want to see him get hurt because of pride. It's not about pride. Jiho pressed his hand against the glass, and Badger pressed his paw against the same spot from the inside. It's about showing them that they're wrong about us, about Earth, about everything they assume. Hana sighed. You sound like Dad. Is that bad? No. It's just scary. Because Dad would do exactly what you're doing. She stood up and hugged him. Just be careful, okay? Both of you. After she left, Jiho opened the habitat and let Badger out for their evening exercise time. The honey badger waddled around the room, sniffing everything, completely relaxed. Jiho had read that honey badgers had been known to fight lions, hyenas, even Cape buffalo when necessary. They had thick, loose skin that prevented most bites and claws from doing serious damage. They felt almost no fear. But would that be enough against an alien creature bred for combat? A message appeared on Jiho's communication device. It was anonymous, but the words made his blood run cold. Withdraw from the trials. Velcrin has ordered Draxon to hurt your animal badly. This is a warning from someone who doesn't want to see unnecessary bloodshed. Jiho stared at the message for a long time. Then he deleted it. The next day, Yuna found him after class. Have you heard? The betting pools have started. Betting pools? Students are wagering on the trials outcomes. You and Badger have the worst odds in Academy history, 500 to 1 against you. She paused. I put money on you anyway. Jiho couldn't help but smile a little. You're going to lose your money. Maybe, but I don't think so. Yuna's wings fluttered. I've been reading more about Earth. Your planet is strange, Jiho. It has so many different environments and so many dangerous creatures, more than most worlds. I think maybe your species and animals are tougher than they look. Thanks, Yuna. Plus, I've seen how you look at Badger. You're not worried. Not really. That tells me something. That night, Jiho lay in bed unable to sleep. In 3 days, the trials would begin. In 3 days, everyone would see what a honey badger could do. He thought about his father's words when they had first found Badger at the research station. Nature doesn't care about size, Jiho. It cares about survival, and some creatures are born survivors. Badger was definitely a survivor. Tomorrow, Jiho would take him to the Academy's training facility to practice. Not that Badger needed much practice. Honey badgers didn't train to be fearless. They just were. Jiho finally fell asleep with one thought in his mind. Let them mock. Let them laugh. Let them bet against him. In 3 days, they would learn the truth. Earth might be new to the galactic community, but Earth's children had been fighting for survival for millions of years, and honey badgers never, ever backed down from a fight. The morning of the trials arrived with clear artificial sunlight streaming through the station's light panels. Jiho woke early and fed Badger extra food. The honey badger ate without any sign of nervousness, then cleaned his face with his paws like this was just another normal day. I wish I could be that calm, Jiho muttered. Hana came to walk with him to the arena. They didn't talk much. What was there to say? Everything that needed to be said had been said already. When they reached the main corridor leading to the competition grounds, they found it packed with students. Everyone was heading to watch the trials. The arena was enormous. It could hold at least 2,000 spectators in the raised seats that circled the combat floor. The floor itself was 50 meters across, covered with different types of terrain: rocky areas, smooth sections, raised platforms, and barrier walls. Force fields shimmered at the boundaries, keeping the action contained. Jiho carried Badger's transport carrier to the participant waiting area. Other students were there with their companion animals, and he saw creatures he had never imagined existed. A phase cat that could turn invisible flickered in and out of sight. A crystal serpent reflected rainbow light from its scales. Something that looked like a floating ball of electricity hummed inside a special containment field. And then there was Draxon. Velcrin's razor hawk perched on a metal stand, its wings folded against its body. Each feather looked like polished steel, gleaming under the lights. Its eyes were bright yellow with vertical slits for pupils. When it noticed Jiho looking, it opened its beak and made a sound like metal scraping against metal. The beak had edges that looked sharp enough to bite through bone. Velcrin stood beside his companion, wearing an expression of supreme confidence. When he saw Jiho, he smiled that glass shard smile. "Ready to embarrass yourself, human?" Velcrin called out. Jiho ignored him and found a quiet corner to wait. He set Badger's carrier down and checked the seal. Through the transparent top, he could see Badger looking around with mild interest. A young human woman in medical uniform approached him. "I'm Minji. I'm training as a medic. I'll be standing by in case Badger needs treatment after the match." "Thanks," Jiho said quietly. Minji bit her lip. "Listen, I know I shouldn't say this, but are you sure about this? I've treated animals after fights with Draxon before. It's not pretty." "I'm sure." She nodded and walked back to the medical station, but Jiho could see the worry in her eyes. The stands filled with spectators. Hundreds of alien students found their seats, talking excitedly. Jiho spotted Yuna sitting in a section near the front. She waved at him, and he managed a small wave back. Seung-min sat a few rows behind her, his face pale with concern. An ancient alien that looked like a floating crystal appeared above the arena. The translator identified the being as Headmaster Zin, the Academy's administrator. Its voice echoed through the space. "Welcome to the Trials of Prowess. Today, our first-year students will demonstrate the skills of their companion animals. We will begin with speed trials, followed by strength demonstrations, coordination challenges, and finally, combat matches. All combat is regulated by Academy rules. Serious injury is forbidden. Victory is achieved through submission or retreat." The speed trial started first. Jiho watched as different animals raced across the arena floor. The phase cat won easily, teleporting short distances to cross the finish line in seconds. The crowd cheered for their favorites. Then came strength demonstrations. A student from a gravity-heavy world had brought something that looked like a bear made of stone. It lifted weights that made the floor shake. More cheers. Coordination challenges followed. Animals had to navigate obstacle courses while their student partners directed them. Some did well, others stumbled and failed. The crowd laughed or applauded depending on the outcome. Throughout all of this, Jiho waited. The combat matches were scheduled last. He watched Velkrin's face in the crowd and saw the alien student's confidence growing with each passing event. Draxon had dominated the speed trials and placed high in strength. The Razorhawk was an impressive creature. Jiho couldn't deny that. Finally, Headmaster Zin announced the combat matches. Partners will face each other in the arena. The match ends when one companion submits, retreats beyond the boundary, or is unable to continue. Medical teams are standing by. First match, Velkrin and Draxon versus Jiho and Badger. The crowd erupted in noise. Some cheered. Many laughed. Jiho heard several species making the same joke about the mismatch. Velkrin strode into the arena with Draxon flying beside him, the Razorhawk's wings creating a sharp whistling sound. They took their position on one side of the combat circle. The crowd's cheering grew louder. Jiho picked up Badger's carrier and walked to the opposite side. Each step felt heavy. He could feel thousands of eyes watching him, judging him, expecting him to fail. He set the carrier down and opened it for the first time in public view. Badger waddled out, blinking in the bright lights. The honey badger was stocky and low to the ground, with a distinctive white stripe running from his head down his back. His legs were short, his waddle almost comical. Compared to the sleek, deadly-looking Razorhawk, he looked completely out of place. The crowd roared with laughter. It echoed through the arena like thunder. "That's the Earth creature?" someone shouted. "It looks like a fat rodent." "This will be over in seconds." Velkrin's laughter carried across the arena. "That's your champion human? That lazy little beast?" Jiho knelt down beside Badger and scratched him behind the ears. The honey badger looked up at him with those calm, dark eyes. Eyes that had never shown fear of anything. Not lions, not hyenas, not humans, nothing. "You know what to do," Jiho whispered. "Just be yourself." Badger huffed once and waddled toward the center of the combat ring. Draxon spread its wings, each feather catching the light like knives. The Razorhawk's yellow eyes focused on Badger with predatory intensity. It made that metal scraping sound again, louder this time. A threat. Badger completely ignored it and sat down to scratch behind his own ear with a back leg. The crowd laughed even harder. Headmaster Zin's voice echoed out. "Combatants ready? Begin on my mark." Jiho's heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. Beside him, Velcrin whispered something to Draxon in his native language. The Razorhawk's eyes began to glow with a red light. Some kind of enhancement. Some way to make the bird even more aggressive. Badger finished scratching and looked around the arena with mild curiosity, as if wondering what all these creatures were staring at. 3, Headmaster Zin counted. The crowd quieted, anticipation building. 2. Velcrin's smile was vicious. He thought he had already won. 1. Jiho took a breath and spoke one word, quiet but clear. "Go." Badger's entire posture changed. The lazy waddle disappeared, his body lowered, muscles tensing, his eyes locked onto Draxon with absolute focus, and the honey badger charged. Draxon launched into the air immediately, wings beating with powerful strokes. The Razorhawk circled once, gaining height, then dove straight at Badger with talons extended. The metallic feathers gleamed like falling knives. The crowd held its breath, expecting the small earth creature to dodge or run. That's what any sensible animal would do when faced with a diving predator. Badger did neither. Instead, the honey badger crouched low and then exploded upward just as Draxon reached him. Badger's jaws opened wide and clamped down on the Razorhawk's wing joint with crushing force. The arena went silent. Draxon shrieked in shock and pain. The bird tried to pull away, wings flapping frantically, but Badger's grip didn't loosen even a fraction. The honey badger's thick, loose skin bunched up around Draxon's slashing talons, preventing them from reaching anything vital. The Razorhawk's metal-sharp claws scored lines across Badger's hide, but the wounds were shallow, painful, but not dangerous. Badger held on. The two creatures crashed to the ground in a tangle of feathers and fur. Draxon screamed and thrashed, trying desperately to break free. Badger rolled with each movement, maintaining his grip, his powerful jaw muscles locked tight. Blood began to drip from the wing joint, staining the white stripe on Badger's back. Velcrin stood frozen at the edge of the arena, his crystalline face showing something Jiho had never seen there before. Uncertainty. "Draxon, rise! Attack!" Velcrin shouted. The Razorhawk managed to get its feet under itself and pushed off the ground, wings beating hard. It lifted both itself and Badger into the air, 3 feet, then 5 feet off the ground. Surely the earth creature would let go now. Surely it would fall. Badger's eyes narrowed, but his jaws stayed clamped on the wing. If anything, he bit down harder. Draxon's flight became erratic. The damaged wing couldn't support the extra weight properly. The Razorhawk spun in the air, smashing Badger against one of the barrier walls. The force field crackled but held. Badger grunted from the impact but didn't release. They crashed to the ground again, harder this time. Draxon rolled onto its back, bringing its lethal talons up to rake across Badger's exposed belly. This was the killing move, the technique that had won Draxon a dozen matches before. The razor-sharp claws could disembowel an opponent in seconds. The talons struck home. Blood splattered. Yuna gasped in the stands. Minji grabbed her medical kit, ready to rush in, but Badger barely flinched. The honey badger's incredibly thick skin over his stomach absorbed most of the damage. The cuts bled, but they were superficial. Evolution had designed honey badgers to survive exactly this kind of attack from larger predators. Their skin was loose enough to twist and turn even when grabbed, thick enough to prevent deep penetration from claws and teeth. And more importantly, honey badgers had an extraordinarily high pain tolerance. What would cripple other animals only made Badger more determined. The honey badger shifted his grip from the wing to Draxon's neck. not crushing the windpipe, but applying enough pressure to communicate dominance. Badger's growl was low and steady, a sound that promised he would never give up, never surrender, never back down. Students throughout the arena began pulling out their data devices, frantically searching Earth's database for information on honey badgers. The screens lit up with search results. "Pound for pound, one of the most fearless animals on Earth," someone read aloud. "Known to fight animals many times their size," another student said in disbelief. "Thick skin provides natural armor against bites and stings," a third added. "They've been documented fighting lions, hyenas, and even Cape buffalo." The whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. This wasn't a lazy rodent. This wasn't a harmless pet. This was a predator from a world they didn't understand. Draxon thrashed again, managing to throw Badger off. The Razor Hawk staggered backward, one wing hanging at an awkward angle, breathing hard. Blood dripped from multiple wounds. Its yellow eyes still glowed red with the enhancement, but now there was fear mixed with the aggression. Badger landed on his feet and immediately advanced. No hesitation, no pause to assess his own injuries. Just relentless forward pressure. Draxon tried to fly again, but the damaged wing couldn't lift properly. The Razor Hawk hopped backward instead, trying to create distance. This was new territory for the alien creature. Draxon had always been the dominant fighter, always been the one others feared. Now it was the one being hunted. Badger charged again, faster than something his size and shape should be able to move. Draxon lashed out with a talon, catching Badger across the face. Blood flowed from a cut above the honey badger's eye. Badger didn't even slow down. He hit Draxon like a furry missile, bowling the larger creature over. They rolled across the arena floor in a blur of motion. Feathers flew, blood splattered. The crowd couldn't tell who was winning until they separated again. Draxon had more wounds now, deep bites on both legs. The damaged wing was definitely broken. The Razor Hawk's breathing was labored. Badger had cuts all over his body. His white fur was stained red, but he stood steady, eyes locked on his opponent, waiting for the next attack. The alien creature tried one more time. Draxon lunged forward, beak open, aiming for Badger's throat. It was a desperate move, all or nothing. Badger met the lunge head-on. He ducked under the beak and clamped his jaws on Draxon's neck again, this time from underneath. Then, using strength that seemed impossible for his size, Badger twisted and flipped the Razor Hawk onto its back. Draxon landed hard, the impact driving the air from its lungs. Before it could recover, Badger was on top of it, positioned perfectly over the Razor Hawk's head. The honey badger's teeth were inches from Draxon's throat. Not biting, not killing, just holding the dominant position. The message was clear. I have won. Submit, or I will end this. Draxon went still beneath him. The red glow faded from its eyes. The fight drained out of the alien creature all at once. Velcrin stood at the edge of the arena, his crystalline hands clenched into fists. His face showed emotions cycling too fast for the translator to identify. Finally, one emotion won out: humiliation. "Draxon," he said, his voice barely audible. "Submit!" The Razor Hawk made a soft chirping sound, the universal signal of surrender. Immediately, Badger released his grip and stepped back. The honey badger sat down, licked his wounds once, then looked around the arena as if wondering why everyone was staring. For 3 full seconds, the arena was absolutely silent. Then Yuna jumped to her feet and started clapping. The sound echoed in the quiet. Seungmin stood next, then Hana. One by one, students from different species rose and began applauding. Not all of them. Many still looked shocked or disbelieving, but enough that the sound grew into genuine recognition of what they had witnessed. A human boy named Taiho was jumping up and down, shouting, "I told you! I bet on them! I knew it!" Minji rushed onto the arena floor, but when she knelt beside Badger, the honey badger just huffed at her as if to say he was fine. She treated his wounds anyway, her hands gentle, her expression awed. Jiho walked to Badger and knelt down. The honey badger waddled over to him and pressed against his leg, finally showing a hint of tiredness. "Good boy," Jiho whispered, scratching behind Badger's ears. "I knew you could do it." Across the arena, Velcrin stood frozen, watching as the medics tended to Draxon. The Razorhawk would heal, the physical wounds would close, but something else had been damaged today. Pride, certainty, the belief in his own superiority. And as Jiho carried Badger out of the arena, he could feel the stares following him. But they were different now. Not mocking, not dismissive. Respectful, wary, curious. The humans and their world had just become very, very interesting to the rest of the galaxy. The medical wing was quiet except for the soft hum of healing equipment. Jiho sat on a chair while Minji finished treating Badger's wounds. The honey badger lay on the examination table, completely relaxed despite the medical instruments scanning him. "His healing rate is remarkable," Minji said, studying her readouts. "These cuts are already starting to close. On most species, wounds like this would take days to begin healing. Badger's body is already repairing itself." "Honey badgers are tough," Jiho said. He had read all about it during the long flights from Earth. Their metabolism ran hot and fast. They healed quickly and felt pain differently than most mammals. Minji looked at him with new respect. "I owe you an apology. I thought you were making a mistake bringing him to the trials. I was wrong." Before Jiho could respond, the door opened. Headmaster Zin floated in, its crystalline body refracting light into rainbow patterns across the walls. The ancient being examined Badger with what might have been curiosity. "A fascinating creature," Headmaster Zin said. "I have been administrator of this academy for 200 years. I have seen companion animals from 600 different worlds. But I have never seen anything quite like this." "He's special," Jiho agreed. "Indeed. The combat footage has already spread beyond this station. Within hours, it was transmitted to the Galactic Council headquarters. Within a day, it will reach every settled system in known space." The headmaster's floating eyes turned to Jiho. "You have made Earth very visible, young one. I hope your world is prepared for the attention." After the headmaster left, Jiho carefully picked up Badger and headed back to his dormitory. But the corridors were different now. Students who had laughed at him 3 days ago now stepped aside respectfully. Some nodded. A few even said hello. One student, a reptilian creature with blue scales, approached nervously. "Is it true that Earth has many creatures like your Badger?" "Earth has lots of different animals," Jiho said carefully. "I read that you have creatures called orcas that hunt in packs and can kill prey much larger than themselves, and birds called cassowaries that can disembowel threats with their claws, and insects called bullet ants with the most painful sting in your world." The student's eyes were wide. "Your planet sounds terrifying." Jiho had never thought of Earth that way before. "It's just home." When he reached his room, Hana was waiting outside his door with a huge smile on her face. She hugged him so hard she almost made him drop Badger. "You did it! Everyone is talking about it! The human students are actually getting respect now!" she laughed. "Do you know how long I've waited for this? 2 years of being treated like a weak species, and you changed everything in one fight." "It wasn't me," Jiho said. "It was Badger." "It was both of you." Hana scratched Badger's head. "Can I come in? I want to hear everything." They spent an hour talking while Badger slept in his habitat. Hana told him about the reaction in the advanced classes, how even the instructors were discussing the implications. Earth had been classified as a docile world when it joined the Galactic Council, a planet with relatively peaceful, intelligent life and non-threatening wildlife. That classification was being reconsidered. Over the next few days, things continued to change. Sungmin visited with another human student named Taiho, who couldn't stop grinning. "I won so much money betting on you," Taiho said. 500 to 1 odds. The betting masters are furious." He pulled out a credit chip. "Here, you should have half. I wouldn't have won anything if you hadn't had the courage to compete." Jiho tried to refuse, but Taiho insisted. "Use it to buy Badger extra food. He earned it." Yuna became a regular visitor, too. She brought friends from different species who wanted to meet the famous Earth creature. Badger tolerated the attention with typical honey badger indifference, mostly sleeping or eating while aliens studied him like he was a museum exhibit. "My homeworld is requesting information about Earth's ecosystem," Yuna said one afternoon. "They want to know if there are trade opportunities for companion animals. Apparently, several species are very interested in creatures from your world now." The most surprising visitor came on the 5th day after the trials. Jiho answered his door to find Velkrin standing there. The tall, crystalline alien looked uncomfortable, his color shifting from blue to a pale gray. "May I enter?" Velkrin asked. Jiho considered refusing, but curiosity won out. "Okay." Velkrin stepped inside and looked around the small room. His eyes found Badger sleeping in the habitat. The honey badger opened one eye, looked at the alien, then went back to sleep. "How is Draxon?" Jiho asked. "Healing. The wing will mend completely." Velkrin was quiet for a moment. "I came to offer formal apology. In my culture, when defeated, we must acknowledge the superior warrior. Your badger is superior, and you showed wisdom in choosing him." Jiho didn't know what to say. This was the last thing he had expected. Velkrin continued. "I underestimated your species and your world. I saw humans as weak because you are new to the Galactic Council. I saw your animal as weak because it looked harmless. I was wrong about both." He performed a gesture with his hands that the translator identified as a formal bow among his people. "I will not make this mistake again." After Velkrin left, Jiho sat on his bed, processing the conversation. Hana had told him that respect in the galaxy had to be earned. He just hadn't expected to earn it so dramatically. The changes kept coming. Instructors added Earth biology to the curriculum. Students who had ignored Jiho before now invited him to study groups. The cafeteria even started serving more Earth-style food to accommodate the growing human student population. But the biggest change came from the Galactic Council itself. Jiho's parents sent him a message saying that Earth's status was being reviewed. Multiple species had requested information about Earth's wildlife for potential companion animal programs. Scientists wanted to study Earth's ecosystems. Anthropologists wanted to understand how humans had survived on a world with so many dangerous creatures. "They're calling Earth a death world now," his mother said in the video message, smiling. "Apparently, any planet that produces creatures like honey badgers must be incredibly harsh and challenging. It's not exactly the reputation we expected, but it's certainly better than being dismissed as harmless." One evening, Jiho sat in his room with Badger on his lap, watching the stars through his window. Yuna, Seungmin, Taiho, and even Hana were there, talking and laughing. Somehow, his small dormitory room had become a gathering place. "What's Earth really like?" an alien student asked. She was new to their group, a gentle creature with soft, purple fur. "Is it truly as dangerous as the reports say?" Jiho thought about it. "Earth has dangerous animals, yeah? But it also has beautiful places, mountains and oceans and forests. Most of the planet is pretty safe if you're careful." He scratched Badger's head. "The dangerous animals are just trying to survive, same as everything else. Badger isn't mean or vicious. He just doesn't back down from threats. That's how he survived in the wild." "Your world created such creatures because it had to," Yuna said thoughtfully. "Harsh environments produce hardy survivors. Earth must have been very challenging for life to evolve such defenses." I never thought of it that way, Jiho admitted. To me, it's just home. Taiho laughed. That's the most human thing I've ever heard. Yeah, we have animals that fight lions and don't feel pain. It's just home. Everyone laughed, and Badger huffed in his sleep, making them laugh harder. Later, after everyone left, Jiho stood at his window again with Badger awake beside him. The honey badger stood on his hind legs with his paws against the glass, looking out at the stars. You changed everything, buddy, Jiho said quietly. Everyone thought we were weak, thought Earth was boring, thought humans didn't belong here. He smiled. You showed them the truth. You didn't do it with words or politics or arguments. You just did what you've always done. You were yourself. Badger made a low, rumbling sound that might have been contentment. Jiho thought about the future. More human students would come to Nexus Academy now. They would be treated with respect instead of mockery. Earth would be taken seriously in the Galactic Council, all because one honey badger refused to back down from a fight. His communication device chimed. A message from the Academy administration. They wanted him to give a presentation about Earth's wildlife to the xenobiology class. Other instructors were requesting similar presentations. There was even talk of creating an Earth Studies program. Jiho looked at the sleeping badger and smiled. You know what the funny part is? You have no idea you're famous. You don't care about politics or reputation or what anyone thinks. You just live your life being fearless. Maybe that was the real lesson. Not that Earth animals were dangerous or that humans were tougher than they looked, but that sometimes the best way to earn respect was simply to be genuine, to face challenges without pretending to be something you weren't, to show strength not through boasting, but through action. Badger had taught the galaxy that lesson in the most direct way possible. Jiho's device chimed again. This time it was a personal message from his father. Son, I'm incredibly proud of you, not just for winning the trials, but for representing Earth with quiet dignity. You reminded everyone that strength comes in many forms. Your mother and I always knew Badger was special. We're glad the rest of the galaxy sees it now, too. Come visit during break. We have a surprise for you. Let's just say the research station has some new visitors who want to learn about Earth's amazing animals. Jiho smiled and looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there was Earth, spinning in space, covered in oceans and continents and millions of species that had evolved to survive in a harsh, beautiful world. A world that had created creatures like honey badgers. A world that had created humans. A world that would never be underestimated again. Badger yawned, showing all his teeth, then curled up in Jiho's lap and went to sleep. Just another day for the toughest little creature in the galaxy.